Real talk. Every time you ask ChatGPT to write an email or summarize a report, you feel like a genius, right? You just saved 10 minutes. Maybe 20. But what if I told you that every time you take that shortcut, your brain is quietly checking out? Not dramatically. Not all at once. But slowly, like a muscle you stop using at the gym. We've entered the era of the great delegation, trading mental sweat for instant results. It feels like a superpower. Until you see what it's doing to your brainwaves. Today, we're diving into the data that should make every ChatGPT user pause. This isn't about productivity guilt. It's about the survival of your critical thinking. Let's go. Let me paint you a picture. Remember writing essays in college? You'd stare at a blank page, your brain grinding like an old coffee mill. Every sentence cost you real mental energy. That's what scientists call high cognitive friction, low output speed. Painful, but effective. Now flash forward to today. You open ChatGPT, type a prompt, and bam, 3 paragraphs appear. Zero friction. Infinite speed. Feels like magic. But here's the question that should keep you up tonight. What are we losing inside our own heads while we gain all this productivity? That's the great delegation. And the price might be steeper than you think. So MIT decided to find out. They gathered 54 regular adults, ages 18 to 39, and gave them a simple task: write 3 short essays on general culture questions. Nothing crazy. But here's where it gets interesting. They split them into 3 groups. Group 1, old school. No digital tools. Just brain and keyboard. Group 2, the searchers. They could use Google for research, but no AI writing. Group 3, the prompters. Full access to ChatGPT. Same task, 3 different ways. But the real story wasn't on the screen. It was happening inside their scalps, tracked by real-time EEG sensors. Let me tell you what they found. The results were staggering. When the ChatGPT group started writing, their brain activity didn't just dip, it went into standby mode. Imagine a car idling at a red light. That was their brain. The EEG showed a massive collapse in something called functional connectivity, that's the chatter between different brain regions. While the old school and Google groups had neurons firing like fireworks on the 4th of July, the prompters' brains were basically whispering. Here's the takeaway: when the AI turns on, your internal engine turns off. You aren't just working with a tool. You're letting your mental muscles go limp. But wait, it gets weirder. After everyone finished writing, the researchers asked a simple question: what did you just write? The old school group? No problem. The Google group? A little fuzzy, but okay. The ChatGPT group? Most of them couldn't remember after just 60 seconds. 60 seconds. That's shorter than a coffee break. Natalia Kosmina, the lead researcher at MIT Media Lab, said it was as if they hadn't even read what they had written. Think about that. Your brain produced text, but it never really processed it. You arrived at the destination, but your mind never took the journey. That's the amnesia effect. Here's something you've probably noticed but couldn't name. Have you ever read an AI-generated email and thought, this sounds exactly like every other AI-generated email? Same sentence structures. Same transition words. Same safe, vanilla vocabulary. That's homogenization. AI is trained on averages, the most common words, the most common structures. So when we all use the same tool, we all start producing the same average thoughts. We aren't just losing our edge. We're drowning in a sea of gray goo where original ideas go to die. And honestly, that's terrifying for anyone who cares about standing out. But this isn't just about writers. It's about doctors. In Poland, researchers studied oncologists, cancer specialists, who used an AI system to help detect polyps, those little growths that can turn into cancer. When the doctors worked with the AI, they were fine. But when the AI was turned off, their own detection ability dropped by 20%. 20%. That's not a small slip. That's a crisis. Why? Because the skill is like a muscle. If you let a machine carry your weights at the gym, you don't get stronger. You get weaker. And in medicine, in writing, in any profession, fragility is a career killer. Here's the kicker, the part that really got me. The researchers asked the ChatGPT users how invested they felt in the work they just produced. The most common answer? Since I didn't do it myself, I don't really care. That's the engagement crisis. When you outsource the struggle, you outsource the pride. You stop being a creator and start being a clerk. Imagine a whole company where no one feels ownership of their work. That's not a team. That's a ghost ship with no one at the wheel. And trust me, that ship isn't going anywhere good. Okay, before you delete your ChatGPT account and move to a cabin in the woods, let me give you the other side. Alexander Merwa from University Laval says, don't jump to conclusions. He argues that we aren't necessarily losing our minds, we might be evolving. Think about it. Every time we get a new tool, our brain reorganizes. We shift cognitive load to different regions. We develop new strategies. So maybe we're not getting dumber. Maybe we're becoming orchestrators instead of executors. But here's the catch, to be a great conductor, you still have to know how the instruments work. If you don't understand the foundations, the whole thing eventually collapses. This feels familiar, right? Go back to 2009. Remember the panic? Is Google making us stupid? Everyone was terrified that search engines were destroying our memory. And what happened? We adapted. Our brains learned to remember where to find information instead of the information itself. We became curators, not just repositories. Now we're in round 2. The AI panic is the sequel nobody asked for, but we have to live through it. History says we'll adapt, but only if we're intentional. So the real question isn't, is AI making us stupid? It's, are you training the machine, or is the machine training you? Here's the paradox. On one hand, AI saves us time. It writes faster, synthesizes instantly, automates the boring stuff. That's the dream, right? But on the other hand, every time we lean on AI, we're giving our brain a free pass. Less mental friction means less mental muscle. Over time, that's a one-way ticket to a duller, lazier critical sense. The tool is designed to serve you. But if you aren't careful, you become the servant, just another human validator for a machine's guess. So we have to ask ourselves, are we using AI, or is AI using us? Alright, so what do we do? 3 rules. Rule 1, orchestrate, don't abdicate. Use AI for the grunt work, outlines, research, formatting. But never, ever skip the final critical review. That's where you become the leader, not just a passenger. Rule 2, protect the struggle. Once a day, do something cognitively hard without any AI help. Write a strategic email from scratch. Solve a logic puzzle. Draft a proposal. Let your brain feel the burn. That's how you keep your mental edge sharp. Rule 3, audit for human soul. When AI gives you a draft, look for the gray goo. Swap generic words for your words. Inject a controversial opinion. Break the perfect structure. Make it yours. Because in a world of infinite AI content, the only thing that will ever be valuable is a unique perspective. Use the tool, but stay the pilot. Keep your hands on the wheel. And never, ever stop thinking for yourself. If you're ready to stay in control, hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.